This is a TetraCity update for February 2011. I have made a few new additions to the game. I created a title screen that shows the title logo fading in and scrolling down from the top. I also included the date and GPL info at the bottom of the screen. I have added background music for the title screen, game screen, and city building screen. I am using all Creative Commons music. I have added sound effects when the user completes lines. I have created an options menu so that the user can change the music and sound effects volume. It also allows the user to turn off lighting effects. The city display now has a blue gradient for the sky. The ground also changes color based on the current season. For months in between seasons, the color values are interpolated from one to the next, giving a smooth transition. Buildings are now models that were rendered in Blender and exported into OBJ format. The game now has models for all level 1, 2, and 3 buildings. There is also a building viewer for testing purposes. I have also added lighting effects for all buildings. In order to get lighting to work in OpenGL, I determined that normals had to be calculated for each polygon to get the lighting to work correctly. First, I tried writing a function that calculated the normal by using 3 vertices of each polygon, but the lighting effects still didn't work correctly. I believe this may be because the direction of the normal vector is based on the order in which the vertices are passed to my function. Fortunately, I found an alternative solution. Blender will actually export the normal vectors as a part of the vertex points. It places the normal vectors after the 2 forward slashes. Therefore, I just had to modify my Ruby OBJ parser to read this information and store it into a new array. Then I called glNormal before each vertex, and the lighting now works correctly. I found that it was hard for new players to understand all of the rules of the game. Therefore, I removed the money and population blocks from the falling block game. Money is now earned by simply completing lines. Completing multiple lines at a time will earn the player more money. More money is earned for completing lines at higher levels. I removed the experience system from the game. The player advances levels by increasing the city's population. Population is granted for buying buildings. Buildings are purchased with money, and now permits are no longer required. I removed the need for external fonts. The game now only uses the Vera TTF font, which is free and redistributable, so now I include that font as a part of the software package. I have created a fully functional zip package of the game for Windows, which can be downloaded from SourceForge. The package has a full extract of the Ruby interpreter in a subdirectory, so there is no requirement for the user to already have Ruby installed. Simply run the tetracity.bat file. I have resolved multiple frame rate issues with the game. Sometimes the game would drop below 20 frames per second when many blocks or buildings were on the screen. I found that using an OpenGL display list will speed up the display of the buildings. The model information is now compiled onto the graphics card so that the basic GL calls do not have to be rerun every time the object is rendered. I had previously made the mistake of calling GLGenTexture multiple times, but I found that it only needs to be called once. I also cleaned up the code with GLBindTexture. The game would run too fast on some systems, so I added sleep statements to ensure that the frame rate stayed around 60 frames per second. Some of the features that I plan to add to a future release of the game are texture mappings and more details to the building models, more types of buildings, additional music and sound effects, usability features such as allowing the player to customize the control and gamepad support, an installer or a Ruby gem file, the ability to save and load the game, improve the display of the blocks, add a piece preview, give the user stats once the game is over, rework and make the font code more efficient, make the buildings rotate on the building purchase screen, and provide multiple views of the city to the player. Thanks for your interest in the TetraCity project.